importance of collecting work experience. And really, by collecting that work experience and having those conversations with all of our support staff so that we can look at the work experience that they bring to the table every day and use that to help accurately place them on those pay grades, which would then in turn really address the compression issue. So, that was part of the work that was done in relation to that, and so the compensation team did quite a bit of work over the last couple of months in looking at each one of those submissions that were given to us that highlighted all of our SPALC employees' work experience. And they used that to determine, again, where they would accurately be placed on those pay grades. And so that was part of the work that went into all of this as far as this presentation is concerned. And I'll go ahead and get into that. But is there anything else that I missed or anything that's kind of, well, I should state too that we did some work on the letters that went out to all of our employees to make sure that, it was appropriate so that all of our employees could understand exactly what we were doing. And really the effort to try to collect as much information about the experiences that our employees have so that we could use that, to again, help really address the compression issues that we have in the district and accurately place all of our support staff on the pay grades. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to see the work that was done and how this actually can play out and how it will benefit and meet some of the interests. Again, so I'd like to just kind of reiterate from the district standpoint that we do have mutual interests. Again, we need to have a pay structure that we can use to help recruit employees into the district when we do have openings. But we also want to make sure that our employees are paid appropriately so that we can work on the retention piece. So that when employees do come to work for us, they're incentivized to stay. And they feel valued based on where we're placing people within those pay grades to make sure they're accurately placed. And that's really the foundation of the work that's been done up to this point. Anybody have anything to add to that from our standpoint?
Lois, Arlise, do you have anything to add to that work that's done over the summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Laura?
You brought up letters were sent out to the employees. What letters?
Pardon me?
The letters that were sent out to the employees?
Yeah, that's before the rule went.
Oh, that
Yeah.
one that was.
The one that we worked on in the session.
Okay.
Anybody else?
You made it sound like it was mailed, so that's what I
Oh,
was.
jeez. Did they do that?
And Amy, I can't find your, in the Google Drive.
FY26 spelled bargaining, but I'll send it to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else before we start the presentation? Okay, I'm going to get out of the way so everybody can see the screen.
So the one version is what I put in there.
Yes. Okay, so this is the most up-to-date number that I have for you on the amount of work experience that has been collected and the work that has gone into each one of those employees to determine, what their actual work experience. And let me kind of reiterate what does work experience actually mean. So work experience that we always refer to it as years E. So years of experience for all of our employees. And those years of experience are related to the current job that any of our employees are in. So if you're a bus driver and you have 15 years of experience driving a bus, that would be 15 years E. You might have 15 years of driving a bus and 4 additional years as a custodian, for example. So the years E, the years of experience that are related for your current job are the years that are credited for that. So the years that you're a bus driver would be what we would use to determine what years E. Okay, so again, collecting that work, we had 1,836 employees submit work experience. We've been able to, we have 1,836 employees that we have done the work on to identify what their years E are. There are 621 of the employees that have yet to have that work done, but will be completed shortly thereafter. So a total of 1,457 employees submitted work experience.
2,400.
2,400, I forgot. Math. So 2,400, over 2,400 people of our employees had submitted work experience. A little bit under 1,900 have not submitted any work experience. So the question is, what do we do with these employees? So once we verify the work experience for those 2,400 employees, we use that data to accurately place them on the pay grade. The remaining 1,890 employees that did not submit any work experience, we use what we currently have just in PeopleSoft. So the number of years of experience that you worked in there that we have is what's used to determine where those employees are at in their current job. Any questions on what's been collected, how we determine years E? Yes.
I did send out emails to all locations and all schools saying who we're missing from, so those schools and locations have that information, but they can still submit those.
Who did you send that to at the
Principal.
location? Principal. Okay.
Was it just recent? Or just before?
Yep. But just recently, like 2 weeks ago, or I can get you the data when it's sent.
And we tried to put some deadlines for submission just to encourage and motivate people, but we've accepted any work experience up until this point.
All right, anything else? Okay.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna stand up here because I need to choose. But, so this is an example for custodians. Okay, so what this line in red represents is basically where our current custodians are on the pay scale. So you can see the bottom is year 0 all the way up to 30. And these X's are the salaries that our current custodians get paid. What the line in green represents is what we call their target rates. So this is where we want people to be when we're finished with all this work. So you can see at the top of the scale is $24.65. So at 24 or 25 years, the projection is that's where you should be in the pay grade. And so the work that we're doing in collecting that is to try to move folks from here as close to that as possible. Okay, so if you think about that, the 3% COLA increase goes across for everybody, and then we have to determine what it takes for this person to get where they should be, which is up there at the top. That's that person's target rate. That's where they should be. And that's what we're using to determine how we get to that point. So that's for custodians. So here it is, and I think we've talked about this, right? It would be almost impossible in 1 year to take everybody from their current rate and get them to the target rate where we would like them to be. So that has to be done in increments. So what this chart represents is if we said we are going to try to get people 50% of the way to their target rate this year. So if it took $10 an hour increase to get them to the target rate, we would increase it by $5 this year and then determine what that looks like in the future. So that would be 50% of what we would try to do to get to their target. So that's what this chart represents. So what we're trying to figure out here is if we were to say 50% is what we'll use this year to try to get people to what they need to be to get paid, these would be the rates that they would get. So instead of this 20-year person making 17 or 18 bucks an hour, this year they would be up to $21.50. Because that's what it would take to get them to 50% of their target rate.
Trees?
The 50%, is that still what we're considering midpoint? Or is
No,
that totally
well,
different?
no, this is, the 50% is just the amount that it would take to get to the target rate. So the 50% has nothing to do with the minimum, midpoint, or max.
Okay.
Okay, so the 50% is again, what within that, so if you think about the 3% COLA that was an option, and then the 2% that would be used towards compression. So that 50% would be what would make up that total 5% increase in salary ranges. Like, does that make sense? So,
Say that again, Ron, I'm sorry.
so if you think about this, the 3% COLA would probably move somebody up, right? And then the 2% towards compression would be up to this point here. That's how we would determine that. The total amount of dollars that we would need equals that 2% in compression. And we figured that we could get to 50% to be in line with that.
So,
But it's actually, and I'll get to it a little bit,
okay.
of what this would take to get to 50%. But that's our goal.
Patrice, I'm just trying to look to see, so everyone has a target rate, correct?
Every single employee has a target rate.
Okay.
And just to clarify, so we're talking about getting employees to the 50% of their target rate.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about.
Yep, get them halfway there to where they should be. And that would be for every employee, right? So obviously, if you're at, 10 years experience here, and you should be at 2054, getting you to 50% of that would be, somewhere around $19 an hour. So it's different for each person, it's 50% of what it would take for that particular person to get to their target.
And we had those numbers prior, correct? Did we have those numbers prior?
Well, we gave them, we kind of used an example, I think we gave the actual pay grade, which we'll do here in a second too. I'm gonna show you what that looks like. I want to revisit that, yeah, I know. 'Cause-
Okay.
And this is, this, what we call scatter plot, this shows everybody. This is all of every custodian we have and where they currently sit and where they should be. All right, we go ready to the next one. Here's what this is what we showed last time. So this is the pay grade, the minimum 1643, the midpoint, and the maximum. So that's where these numbers play in. So remember, all of our custodians were at 1753 an hour. And then, so we looked at the yellow is the rate at 50% where they should be, and the green would be in the target. So even this person here, custodian number 1 with 3 years of experience, with the 3% COLA actually puts them over the 50% of their target. But as an option, we said 3% COLA so the least you're gonna get is 3% and a COLA increase. So for that person, they're already past their target. So we wouldn't do anything for that person in relation to compression because they're already where they need to be in that 50%. That makes sense? Okay. The custodian 2 has 8 years of experience. They were at 1753, their target is 1972, but at 50% of that, they would be at 1888. So that would be their new rate. And then the person, again, the custodian with 18 years of experience, should be at 2382, but they're actually gonna get a $3 and some raise, which would put them 50%.
Question? Okay.
Right? Okay, bus drivers. This is again a scatter of where people are currently at. And so this would be the rates for most of our drivers. You can see we have some drivers who have 20 years of experience. They're moving up towards those target rates. But the same kind of situation. The green represents the target rates where they should be, which is at the top of the scale, 2935 in 25 years. And again, that's the same as what we did with the custodians. Next slide. And this represents, again, 50%. And because some of our bus drivers have less, they're less compressed You know what I mean? That's why that kind of looks a little bit closer together. So the 50% range again takes them into where they should be on the pay scale. And it's the same thing with food and nutrition services workers. Again, there's less compression here, so there's more space in between the target rates. And at 50%, that kind of shows you again in the next slide where they would be. Instructional support. So I guess this just illustrates that we have done this for every single one of our classifications, the same type of thing. So we know where all of our employees sit, where their target rate should be, and then what 50% looks like. So the key here is, even though we still have, 600 and some employees to accurately figure out, we know what their rates should be, because we've done all this work and we've just about hit just about every single rate that any employee would have based on their years of service. So you can say, what is an electrician with 15 years of service, where should they be? Even though we may not have done the years E for that, we know because we've done this and we've mapped this out where they should be. So what we did here is we put together an impact, again, with the salary increases and to get to 50% of the target rate. These would be the average increases for the years E. So if you have 0 to 3, it's a 3% increase, because you're pretty much going to be where your target rate is anyway. If you have 4 to 9 years, there's 491 employees that are going to see an average increase of 5.6%. If you're here 10 to 14, that's 276 of our employees, 11% increase. 15 to 19, 152 of them, almost a 16% increase. Okay, so you can see, again, to address compression, there has to be larger increases for people who have been here or have been in those positions a longer time. So those are some pretty significant increases across the board, that we've determined based on that. You got to remember the amount of money is the total. What's the total? It's $9.8 million. That's how you can get some of these increases, because of the $9.8 million that were part of that. Yeah.
Want to point out that those numbers there really truly mean the average increase. It doesn't mean that anybody in years 10 to 14 will get an 11% increase.
Yep.
It could be all different numbers, but the average of all the 276 people there was an 11%.
So it can be above or below
It could
that.
be above or below that, yes ma'am, but that was the average.
Okay.
And Ron, can you say again what year E is? Because we have a lot of people here tonight and they probably don't know what year E is, and I just need to know what it is.
So when we take a look at somebody's work experience, okay, let's say, for example, I'll use the bus driver. Okay, so what is the bus driver is, So right now, what we have here is where our current employees sit. And it doesn't, their years of experience, really don't matter that much right now, because most of their rates are fairly the same. So then what we do is we try to determine how many actual years of what we consider credible years of experience. So that word credible is important there. Because if you were a bookkeeper for maybe 5 or 6 years, even in the district, but you were a bus driver for 8, those 8 years of experience are what determines your years E. So again, that's the credible and verifiable years. So we can credit the years of experience because it's related to your current position. You know, a bookkeeper's a good job and you do some good work, but has nothing to do with driving a bus, right? So everything the work experience that we're looking at is really geared towards what job you're doing right now. And you know, you may have had some experience outside of work, and this is really, you know, some of the things that I feel like will help the district, especially in recruitment too. So if we're trying to recruit bus drivers, and somebody's been out there working for lead training, you know what I mean, and they have actual bus driver experience, that would be something that we would want to look at as credible years of experience. They drove a bus for 5 years before they came to work for Lee County. We would want to figure out some way to credit that person and give them some experience so that we can have, you know, a good recruitment path of getting people with that kind of experience to work for Lee County. And that's the difference between like credible, verifiable years of experience. Now, we also have what we call years L, and some of you may have be familiar with that. And that's actually another supplement that exists within the contract. So if you've been in Lee County for 15 years, then you get a bonus based on what we consider years L, which is longevity. So if you've been an employee of the district, you should get a little bump in pay for being loyal and an employee for Lee County for certain years. So those are still within the contract. We're not proposing to take those away. We value years L too, the amount of time that you spend in there, and there's specific numbers for that. But that's the difference between years L and years E.
Any other questions? Clarifications needed?
We'll get a copy of this too, right?
Yep.
Yep, I'm linking it right in here.
All right, if nobody else has any questions or clarifications, that is the option presented.
Is this
Well, I need to talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So now I do have a question, Ron.
Yep.
Because this is one of the things that I think everybody had different opinions on.
Right.
So years E experience. We need to talk about how many years, how much of that experience we're giving. Whether it's like it was 3 years of experience,
You're talking
so.
about outside people, right? Are these-
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, new hires.
Yeah, these are new
Okay.
hires. right?
Yes. So how much experience are we going to give people? Because that's, you know, that's one thing, you know, I'm really concerned about that.
And I'd be really interested to hear, you know, from the SPALC perspective, you know, what you think that should look like, right? Because quite honestly, in an open ring system that way, in order for us to really meet that interest of being able to recruit people from the outside in an open range system, you almost always credit them with their years each. So whatever years they bring to the table in this type of system is what is typically, you know, the standard procedure. And right now, we don't have any of those in our current language. It doesn't say, Kirsten can comment.
And I was gonna say, if we limit the amount of experience that a new hire can bring in, we're putting all of this work into fixing compression, and then we're just creating a new situation of compression by only allowing that person to come in, that they might have 8 years of experience to only have 3 or whatever, and now we're getting compression again with this person with similarly.
We're getting compression with new people.
Yeah, and the new people that come in would be, again, you know, they might have some years of experience that we really want to place a value on in order to recruit them.
They're new
And if
people
they're-
coming in, but once they're here, they're stuck, so then we're gonna have to address it.
Okay, so you guys know how I feel about this. and I said again. And I used, an employee that has 42 years. And I know what is always, is said to us is, oh, they get longevity. Absolutely. She is a 42-year employee, has worked for the district pretty much all her life. And I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to talk to y'all and you calculate right here the right number. So she is a 42-year employee, and so basically her longevity is $325 a paycheck, and then average out to $162.50 a week. I understand that you're trying to use this part of a recruitment tool. My opinion, it is not gonna make that big of a difference if you put years on it or say I'm gonna give you day by day, right? Because, and the reason why I said that is in transportation, we have been short of drivers for the last 4 or 5 years. So we have been short for the last 4 or 5 years. If we get 20 drivers in the class, you might be lucky if 3 of them, 7 or 8 of them, pretty much survive. So I just don't feel if somebody is coming in that they should get day for day. Like I said, we have an employee, 42 years. You get somebody that came from New York City, drove 40 years, drove 2 years, they're gonna be making the same exact thing as you. To a person that has dedicated their life to Lee County School District. So I do not agree with the day for day. And I understand it's an open range and all of that, but I also understand, whatever we agree upon, we can make it look or make it work however, whatever our agreement is. And I don't agree with the day for day.
Is there like a number that you were thinking as far as?
Well, I thought that's what we was gonna do, because I mean, we've been having this conversation and you guys knew where I was on that. And we were, because according to our last conversation we had, we were looking at what Top had 10 years. We're comfortable with giving them a 10 years experience for a SPALC.
So that would. I think they have a.
Okay, well, we'll just do a question mark and we'll see what town it really is and we'll come back to it. So the last time we had.
So basically, it's 10 years that would be kind of equivalent to the midpoint.
Okay, can I ask another question? I'm gonna ask Ms. Donna. Ms. Donna, we have language that has disappeared out of our contract, and we don't know really where it went to.
Years experience language?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so what we have uncovered is that
Okay.
language in the compensation piece, there used to be language that said that limited the amount of years that somebody could bring into the district, it was 3 years. It is not in the current contract. It was voted on without the language, you know what I mean? It definitely was. We've determined that it was definitely in the draft that went out to that, but
But it did not make it in the contract.
what happened to it?
And somehow it wasn't caught,
Right,
and people proved.
yes, ma'am.
Well, and it was, and I wasn't part of all those conversations, and we tried to look back
Right,
through the.
3 years?
Yeah, we never even had a discussion on that. That never came up for no one, neither side item. I just think it's something that it just got left out. So, Ms. Donna, what do you do with that?
Well, the contract has been ratified without it,
Ooh,
so
is out.
this is your opportunity to put it back in.
Okay.
And again, I think, whatever, if it's 20 years, you know what I mean, let's just say it is 20 years. I mean, that's typically, that's the pay grade. You know what I
So
mean?
that's the paper right there where those things.
Well, I mean, that's what, your option is, if you think, again, what you think is fair and equitable is, part of how this process works. Now, I can tell you again, sorry.
That's all right, go ahead.
I mean, it's just, you have to keep in mind that the interest for the district too is when we need to recruit new people that are coming in, we want to be able to have some flexibility in their salary to show them, again, I know that, the bus driver from New York City who comes down and comes to work for us has a lot of experience too, that we want to value because, there's less training that has to go into that, and those kinds of things. So it's not necessarily that we, you know what I mean, like, we want them to make more, but we need to be able to recruit and value those employees' experience too. So just keep that in mind. That's the interest behind, that's the interest behind not having a cap on the amount of years for people.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm quite sure everybody, well, I hear you, but,
Town language is up here, it does say 20 years of experience.
okay,
Employees will be eligible to receive a maximum of 20 years of experience credit to come towards starting salary. So it is 20 years for Cal. Which for years it was 10, you're absolutely right. It was 10 for years, but
yeah.
Chris?
I just have a question in regards to this. You said you bring in an employee now that come over the top of people that, let's just say, somebody had 30 years of experience here. And you would take somebody that they haven't made it up because you're only going at 50% right now. You could bring somebody in over the top of those people that have been here?
No,
Read something written in to keep that from happening?
Kirsten, you're better off explaining how that works.
Yeah, we're using what's called an observable range, so even if they had 30 years of experience, if all of our current employees who also have 30 years or more experience are only at, say, $25 an hour, we're gonna cap that incoming person at the same as what a current employee makes, and then they'll have to be brought up to where they should be with everyone else.
They wouldn't receive longevity though, if they
No,
came in with 30
exactly.
years. So anybody who came in with that amount of years wouldn't get the longevity that people who are already here with 30 years would get.
And I know that's been a topic, that's what we do. We look at people's experience, but right now, the method that we use to place people is based on the observed rank. Where are all of our employees at who have that equal amount of years? That's where they're.
They'll be placed exactly where so if I had 30 years in another state, I'll come in, drive, and make the same thing that a 30-year driver would make here. So I don't think that's gonna be good from around for the employees that you have here. Because, they're gonna feel like, and I can tell you this, that a new employee in the district should not make the same thing that they're making. I'm telling you what the employee is gonna think. So your whole audience, all of those are basically bus drivers. So I'm just saying, I'm bringing to you guys what I know that the people, what they want and what they pretty much don't want.
So TELC has a 20-year
Yeah.
experience limit.
Yeah.
And you said you could go with what TELC had.
No, I didn't, I said 10 years.
What TELC had.
Yeah, wait a minute, I said 10 years, and what I said was, and then when you said it was 20 years, and I said, well, I put a question mark by there, we need to figure it out.
Okay.
So where I'm at on that is, we have never took that big of a jump on anything, no matter what the situation was. If we started out at 3 years, so now we're gonna say 0 years, we would not jump from 0 years to 20 years on anything else.
Can I make a comment on that, Dorothy? I understand that. I understand what you're saying completely. I think part of the issue is, how do I say this? Our folks need to get paid more. We know that, based on their experience. And to get those folks, again, where they need to be paid for, you know what I mean? If you're actually making, you know, the wage that your position requires you to do, and we work on that, I think it's a little less painful, you know what I mean? Because you're actually making what you're supposed to make. You've been here for a while and you've been capped at a certain rate for a while, and I think that adds to that kind of feeling. But hopefully when we get people to where they need to be, you know what I mean, then it's like, hey, I don't know, I think it would make it a little more palatable for people who are actually making what, you know, you're supposed to be. I mean, you're aspiring to make, if you're making $17 an hour right now as a custodian, you should be making $23 an hour. For somebody else who has very credible experience, maybe it doesn't hurt you. You know what I mean? That's, you know, we're a system that really wants to reward people's experience and what they bring to the table.
All right, anything else? Chris?
Do you guys have an estimated time when you achieve, you said you're going up to 50% of that range, I guess. How long do you anticipate bringing everybody up to the full potential, I guess, if you want to call it that?
That's a good question. You know, then the intent would be, you know, we've experienced a rough summer. I mean, look at Dr. Desamore here in relation to revenues that are supposed to be guaranteed to us by whatever source, whether it be the federal government or the state government. Got quite a scare here over the last month because of the reduction in the federal funds that were taken. And then if all things remain equal and we continue to progress, our goal is to get you, you know, every year to that area. If we do 50% this year, that would be what that might be our goal if everything remains the same. If we don't continue to get threatened with money taken away from us, you know what I mean? That would certainly put a damper in our plans, right, to be able to do that. So it's hard to say, you know, again, you know, based on what we've experienced over the last couple of months. But that would be our goal, to get everybody there within the next part of the session. But it's hard to predict that right now, because, you know, it really is that, again,
I will say, I've had my constituents ask me, you know, why is the school board looking at this and saying, let's give them the money to make this right? I mean, is there a plan to put forward? Say, we know that these guys are behind. Let's get it around on a level playing field, and then we can. And I think that's what you're doing.
Everything that we've discussed here, we went to the board, like you said, we're not going for a bargaining authority, you know what I mean? We're talking about the interest. That's the difference in this session maybe compared to what we used to. Here's the interest that we have on the table, and here's the things that we need to do to get there. And again, you know, what can we afford, and they know what the options are gonna cost us. We don't, you know, we're handling that a little bit different. But they're fully aware of what our goals are to get folks in there in favor of that. They've given us, you know, the authority to progress with this whole system that what we presented.
Any other questions? Lois?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the, 3 groups of numbers you said there was 1,890 folks that hadn't submitted their.
Yes.
And what did you say you would use, whatever you have in PeopleSoft for this book? So it's like 1,890 are not being left out.
Everybody's getting years of experience credited to them. It's just the only verifiable years that we have for those people that submitted is the years they've actually worked in that position right now.
Yeah, I used the date in their current position. So it actually might be less because they could have been a custodian at this location and then moved to be a custodian at this location. All we have is for the date in position is the date in their current position. So, you know, at least they have the opportunity going forward to turn in their experience, to get it right in the next go round.
Cheryl?
I think there's a slide that kind of might have shown that, if you go towards the end. It's the one that had the chart on it and the average, that where it says either some employees might be in the 0 to 3, is that what I'm hearing you say? But some where it says none years of experience, their average is 4.6 based off of what's in people's office. Is that an accurate statement? Okay.
Yes, we have some people, specifically bus drivers, that have been in their same position for 18 years, 20 years. And so if we don't, well, actually, I can't, they're not a good example because they've all turned it in. Yeah, we get food service,
Support those are the ones that.
Instructional support.
Okay, anything else? All right, we've seen the presentation, we've talked about years' experience and what could possibly be accepted. Do we have any options? Okay, the option we had last time is up there. Now, get out of the way so you can see it.
So,
Okay.
so that option one was 3% COLA and 2% pot of money for compression. So what we figured and what we'd like to present as an option here, in addition to that, is 3% COLA, but the option for compression is closer to 3% than it is 2%. So we're actually
So we're just gonna
increasing.
change that? Or you want to just change it or make an option
I
two?
think it needs, well, I think it would need to be option two.
I do too. Just wanted to make sure. And option two is going to include the parental leave and.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm confused, so I thought we already had an option. We're looking for it now.
Oh,
There wasn't any in the minutes, I don't believe.
Is it that double the option two?
This is for. Yeah, in the 420, we had compression priorities, and we looked at 3 options.
Deal with compression.
Right there.
This was on the resume.
Oh,
Oh, that was resume.
yes, that's all for the resume.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Again, how many, before we start making options? Because,
Well, Ron can put up his option.
okay, so, okay, go ahead.
no, I just needed to clarify, because we talked about 50%. And so the option that we have right now, the option that's on the table is 3%, 2%, 1% for that, a total of 9.6 million. The way that's configured right now, we would not be able to use that amount of money to get to the 50%. It would, you know, it's 2 point something percent, it's rounded up to 3% to get you to the 50%. So it's, I mean, it's obviously in SPALC's favor that the option is to increase the amount of money that we're putting towards compression.
Okay, so now we have option one and option
It's
two.
not a bad thing, it's actually a good thing.
Right. Now we have option one and option two. Do we have a third option?
We have this totally.
Yeah, okay. So that second number should also be 4.8.
4.2.
Okay, and the total value would be
11.2.
11.2.
You said you increased because trying to get folks to 50%, there was no way that money was, and that's when I think I said to management, like, how are you gonna stretch that? So you added an additional 1 point, what was it, 3.2?
3.2 for the compression, yeah.
1.6.
And now it's 4.8.
So we just added another 1.6.
So option two is the actual presentation that you.
Yeah, that was the presentation that we gave last time around, which would not get us to the 50%. This would.
So option two reflects what we just seen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, one more question, so the folks that we still need to, there's still over 600 folks that need to have their,
That's included.
even though it hasn't ever.
I mean, and that's what I was trying to explain, like, those 600 folks are, we know the amount of employees and what it's gonna take. Like, those 600 folks are probably very similar to people that we've already done. So we know, we know what it's gonna be for folks who have 8 years each. It's gonna be this amount. Even though we haven't done it specifically for those people, we know where they're gonna fall. So we're able to estimate the total cost of that now, even though we haven't processed those 600 employees, because they're gonna fall within that range.
Yes, they're accounted for in the calculations just based on their date in the position. So the final numbers, some might be a little higher, some might be a little lower, but in the end, they'll average out. Within enough that we can absorb.
Any other questions on either one of the options? Or the third option?
I think we're gonna caucus.
You want to caucus? Okay, general welfare,
20 minutes?
20 minutes? Or you gonna caucus?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay, do you have a caucus group?
I believe we do. The SPALC caucus room, ours is through there, yours is around.
download the PowerPoint.
Ours is over ours.
Yeah, you were in there
We're
already.
going to
I think we go through those.
We were locked up.
Okay, then everybody else can stay put if we have two separate caucus rooms, so. Or you can go for a walk. I mean, you don't have to stay there. Everybody back? And, now we call the caucus, so give us your start report first.
So I know, we talked about the option two that was just put up there. That is something that we do like. However, if we do an option three, which is the same amount there, but if we can add for new hires, the 10-year experience, with maybe looking back on this next round of bargaining to see the story behind that, how it's looking, we can revisit it. But that was something that we were very comfortable with.
So if I clarify that you, for option three, you wanna say stick with option two, but add 10-year.
Yeah, that 10-year for the new hires.
10-year experience period.
And registrar.
No, they cannot do
It's only August 4th.
And those are the folks that have been here since July 1.
So would the capping the 10 years, that's just for new people coming in or for like me and my calculations?
That's for an outside people.
Yes.
No, they can't.
Can I clarify that way? Outside SPALC?
No,
What do you?
okay,
For
the
new
10-year, you're saying for new hires? Not for
New hire.
New hire, yeah, outside.
experience.
So what about,
So say maximum
What about
10-year
current?
experience for free, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, so what if I was a driver for 20 years left and I come back, I only get up to 10 years experience? Cause I mean, I'm just making sure it's specifying for outside school district employees, so what does that mean, like?
Well, if I landed, it's the kid that he was only going to free ball, right? If you came back. Isn't that what it meant? So yeah, that's what it means.
Okay, I was just, no.
So,
So go ahead, Ron.
yeah, just, let me just talk a little bit about our discussion, because that was, part of the discussion. So, we have our food service manager here, we have our custodial manager here, we have our bus driver manager here. So just had a conversation about what's it look like out there in relation to when you're recruiting and trying to hire people, For the most part, I don't think we have that issue with bus drivers. There is that occasion when somebody comes with more than 10 years of experience. Because that's what it said, all right, we kind of anticipated you might want to, put a cap on that. I wanted to know from them, from each department, like what effect is that going to have on you as far as recruitment? Are you still going to be able to, actively and successfully recruit people? And probably in transportation, there might be those one-offs, but that'll probably work for them. Food service, same thing. Paras, sometimes our paras come with like teaching experience and they're, in a second career, which we typically look at that. But I think where most of the effect is going to come is in our trades folks. You know what I mean? Because now we're really competing with, HVAC repair. Those people who have specific certifications in areas where we're really actively competing for those positions here. That might have a little bit of an adverse effect on our recruitment strategies. So that's just a report out in the caucus, but I was interested to hear, and I think specifically, I think what I heard was, if somebody was in a position with us for 10 years, leaves and wants to come back, if they have years of that experience within Lee County, we're gonna credit them. Is that what I heard or not? No, okay.
That would, they would get that for longevity, correct?
Yeah, because they work in the district, so that would go towards definitely go towards their years out. So somebody that leaves and comes back, we're still they're still getting max. Even if they work for us for 15 years, they can only bring back 10. That's what I'm hearing. I just want to make sure we're clear.
Because I mean, it's their decision to leave.
Yeah.
I mean,
We just worry about our employee morale. I mean, that's one of our interests was that.
Yeah.
I mean, we originally only had 3 up until recently.
Yep.
But now it's up to 10.
Gotcha.
I thought it was kind of like,
So you're saying that what I heard was You like option 2 with that extra language?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
And
So,
Barbara was first. Barbara had her hand up first.
oh, Barbara, sorry.
Sorry, I just have a concern with the 10-year stipulation because I am having a hard time hiring electricians. I am having a hard time hiring HVAC, chill water technicians. And what that does is, a lot of times some of the people that are applying, for like, let's say specifically chill water tech, it's getting harder and harder to find those people, and I'm going 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and it's so hard to hire people in those areas. And it's critical because technologies are changing and we're constantly competing with the outside workforce. I mean, it just, I don't know what that does to my department, in those critical areas that impact, learning environments and things of the sort. That's my only concern that I have with that 10-year, that what does that do for a trade like chill water tech that is so specialized out there? I can't have a department without people. I have to be able to fix stuff.
Right, and I totally understand that. Yeah, I think pretty much every department is the same. And, we don't pay a whole bunch for a school system, right? And so just like I said about, the transportation, the fact of it is you're gonna have 20 people in a driving class and 7 of them don't make it, we are a school system, so, us, being 100% focused, like the day-to-day is going to change the shortage of the people that we have in this district. I don't think that's it might help some, but it's not it's not one, it's not gonna fix a lot of problems in this district. It's just, but I understand what you're saying, Barbara.
Okay, Laura?
So someone that comes in, they receive their 3 years experience when they were hired, but they came in with 7.5 years. And you're at 13 with your district. How does that work?
You mean people who are already in the system that may have come in with 3 years?
Well, because the district, when you came in at 3 years.
Right.
But you really should have came in at 7.5 years, if you did it by the 10 years.
That's the work experience that we're collecting, as long as it was put
Verifiable.
on that work experience form and it's verifiable experience,
Okay.
then that is being added to it.
That's for all our current.
Okay.
No,
All right, well, yeah, Cheryl?
So listening to Laura's comment, my wondering is, does that mean that we're gonna now, if we put that 10 years in, we're gonna limit those employees to 10 years now?
I'm under the understanding that's just new hires coming and going forward.
Say that again, Barbara, I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I mean, Cheryl, I'm sorry, Cheryl. Say that again.
I like Barbara though, I really like Barbara.
I really do.
You can call me Barbara anytime. No, I was just wondering, based off of the comment that Laura made, if that 10 years was going to be limited to the current employees that were outside and then came back, or vice versa, whatever that outside experience was, but Ron said no.
All
I
right,
guess we need a copy set then, right?
any other questions before we break? No? All right, you wanna talk? Okay.
I shouldn't take one again.
No, we're
I don't think we'll need more.
Okay.
So our discussion was obviously around, you know, what 10 years would look like for all of our employee groups. We appreciate, you know, the collaboration that we've gotten to this point where we believe option 2 might be a good option for all of us, and would accept the 10 years of experience. We'd just like to add that in December, we would propose as part of this that we want to collect some data. So we want to look at, you know, how many employees are coming in with more than 10 years, where does that fall? And in the December labor management, we just present that. Whether we feel like we need to do something at that time, we can make that conversation. But at least going into the following year, we'll have some legitimate data to take a look at on how that affects recruitment and retention. We're good.
You're okay with that, okay?
And I think that's what we said, that we look at the next round of already.
Yeah, right, so we, you know, just kind of make it known so nobody forgets that we're gonna take a look and collect some data from this point forward and present it in December, to see what the impact.
Okay. So with that, we have 3 options up here. Do we have any others? Do we have any option anybody wants to test? Arlene?
Okay, can we test option 3? So just so I'm clear,
Okay.
so option 3 is we adopted pretty much option 2 and then the 10 years experience and the retro.
Correct.
Okay, yes.
So can I add to that clarification? So retro is always retro to the date of contract. So not necessarily everybody goes back to July 1st and gets the increase from that point on. It's whenever you start your contract for that.
Absolutely, yes.
And that would just be adding that driver, so I can change that to
Right.
contract year?
Yeah.
Yeah, to beginning of contract year.
Okay.
And then, you know, I think there's probably some particulars and details that might have to be discussed, and I don't know if you do that like in a post, or if you do that right now, as far as, you know, you have to be employed at the date of contract, all those kinds of things, which are typical, and I don't know your history of how you usually go about doing it.
Well, if we come up with an option tonight and we have no further business, we do an implementation plan
Okay.
about how this is all going to move forward and set some general timelines about when things are gonna happen and.
Okay.
When we can ratify it and things.
You might have to do a little research for that, I would imagine, because that's something we can do tonight.
Ms. Donna knows that stuff like scrambling eggs.
Now, yes, Amy.
I was gonna say, typically as part of the option, we do have, what makes a person eligible. So usually we would add to the option, in order to be eligible, a person would have to have been employed as of the date of ratification
Yeah.
and the date of work.
Yeah, we can do that right now, if we need that.
Want to add that in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the process as well, the date that the district can get people their money.
The ratification or board approval?
Well, you had to have been employed by date of ratification and still employed at date of pay. I.e. if date of ratification is September 1st and somebody doesn't get hired until September 5th, then you're not eligible for whatever.
It's date of, not board approval, date of payout, right?
Oh, sorry.
They must still be employed at the date of payout. As ratification goes, that's just
Oh, sorry.
forward in stuff. All right, anything else we need to add to that to make everything clear for everybody? Lois?
This is just another question. Some employees want to know how are they gonna find out? So
Yeah, so the implementation piece is
That is
kind of
part,
similar, we talked about similar to what we did last year. So we would take every single employee, calculate their current rate, where they would be going into next year, and send them that letter before the vote is taking place. So every employee will have that information. I believe that's what we did last year, correct? So,
Yeah, and then.
and that seemed to go over pretty well with.
That was the
Yeah, and then I think then we were also talking about, for some of the big departments, like going out to transportation, setting up at each of the compounds, in case employees wanted to question their calculations for the year's E, and then having some like open Teams meetings just for generally, so that you can ask questions.
Okay, we're kind of jumping ahead here, because we haven't even approved an option yet to implement.
We want to make sure we have all the things in the option, right? Is there any, or those just,
I think we have pretty much what needs to be in the option, and then we can go an implementation plan as far as notifying employees. Amy?
It's in the option, in the part for parental leave agreement, is there anywhere else in our previous minutes where we talked about the details of what the family eligibility is?
we did.
I think we did.
or not.
Do you want, I think we did, but we have discussed all of that.
Yeah, we listed all the immediate family members. I would like to, maybe kind of refresh our memory of.
There it is.
Okay,
for
okay. Got it, and then page one.
Okay, down there. Did you do anything for parental or just?
Yes,
We did.
yeah.
I just wanted to pull it up. There it is.
But we didn't come to an agreement on that, because we said it was all part of compensation, so we didn't.
Yep, understood, I just wanted to give, memory refreshed about what it was that we had up there. Look under, and then terminal pay?
I don't think we did.
We didn't
discuss
discuss
terminal pay.
I
We
think
did
we
with
discussed
Tyler.
it the last one.
I'm pretty sure we just.
I believe the gist of it was the
Parental,
10-year,
10 years, yeah.
removing the 10-year vesting. Because that is no longer in.
Yeah, that was just a compliance thing, I think. In terminal?
Might have been something different.
Yeah, this was 10 years for this.
We did like 1 to 3 years, a certain percentage, 4 to 6.
For terminal growth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's severance pay.
We did it in last round, the last set of our.
Oh, yeah, not this year.
No, no.
No, it's already in the
It's
contract.
in the contract.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry. It's last year.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure we said aloud what we were, what terminal pay was referring to, so we could be sure what we were voting.
Do you want me to put that in here?
Yes.
Can I put in this option 3? We define our terminal pay things in this option 3 here?
Yeah, we could.
Do we need to?
Because it's already.
Already in part of the contract.
My computer's dead. Can you call up the current contract?
Yeah.
It's not changing the current language, is that what I'm understanding? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, we never talked about it this year, we talked about it previously.
Why is that?
Okay.
Oops.
$12.05?
Yeah.
Is it say terminal pay? Oh, the terminal pay and vacation.
No, here's all the one, right above that is
13
Oh,
more
gotcha.
district years.
Scroll up, yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
okay.
Yeah, I believe we've got confirmation that in 10 years, what, the one that took the move, that is no longer.
Yeah,
It has to do with the FRS, right?
The first sentence,
That
yes.
first sentence would come
If
out.
they have 10 years of services in a sport retired eligible position would come out. That's what was proposed in the other, because it no longer applies.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody, if you work in the school district, you're eligible. And then it's all based on the number of years. It really doesn't make sense, right, to get it every 3 years, unless they were in another retirement system.
Okay.
I'll clean it up.
Okay. All right,
So option 3, keeps
where are we?
anything else?
Well, it's in option 2.
Okay. Yeah,
So, yep,
so it's there. Anything else?
anybody see anything else?
All right,
Let's see what we come up with for option 3.
Can you repeat what that does, the remove that one item that we just added?
Which one?
What does that do to the contract? The last total that's on there.
Taking the 10 years out?
Yeah.
It makes it compliant with state law.
State law 3.
There's a clause in there that refers to a statute that's no longer in existence.
Got it, okay,
It could have been a housekeeping, but
okay.
What it means is previously, you had to be in an FRS position for 10 years before you could get paid out for the sick and vacation, and now
The state.
1 year, 3 years, you get paid up for what you have.
Got it.
State did do something. Anything else? All right, then let's try option 3 if there are no more questions. I hope you
looked at your common interest to make sure it meets most of those. And may I see thumbs, please?
well, let me take a picture.
All right, we've got it.
All right, now the implementation plan. So we kind of needed to set a timeline of how long this is gonna happen.
How long is it gonna take to get,
Contracts ready for review, or the new language ready for review. Yes.
SPALC usually ratifies before it goes to the board. So SPALC usually says how long they think it's gonna take them after we. We say usually the employees should be here for 10 days before they go. So, and employees don't come back till April, August.
We only have one board meeting a month, so I don't know, and it's September 4th, I believe, is the board meeting. So that would be it. September 9th. So that's gonna be
That'd be a tight.
tight. Because you have to have all that stuff done, so.
Yeah, we finish up the calculations.
Right, right.
Okay, so let us ask a question. So when can when would the contract be ready for us to just go over it and prove it? We know that the board meeting won't happen until next month,
Right.
but how soon can we get the contract?
Well, I think we can get a red line version of the contract fairly quickly. I think the biggest issue for us is finishing the calculations for those 600 employees who submitted the work. Like, that's gonna take some time. I hate to give that, I think we can kind of keep it updated. But if we have an end date, that we gotta wait till the October board meeting for the board to vote. So sometime in that time frame by mid-September is when we need to have ratification by SPALC. Does that sound?
Mid-September?
Yep.
We can work backwards from there. So how many days do you use for
Just
ratification?
ratification, not board. Yeah.
No, for the actual ratification,
We do it one day.
1 day. Okay, so all you need is 1 day, to set 1 day for ratification.
So September 9th is
You
the
have
end
to
of the day.
get the letters out, get everybody.
Right.
Give us time to meet with people who may have questions prior to that ratification.
7.
So I don't think September 9th is gonna work, it's gonna have to be October for board ratification.
So we could say. So September 18th, I think, is a Friday after, that would be a Friday.
September 19th is a Friday.
Pardon me?
September 19th is a Friday.
19th.
So what day of the week would you prefer to?
Yeah, do you have a
Vote on
particular day you would rather vote?
What do you think?
19th is
19th
a
is
Friday.
that Friday.
When is the board meeting in October?
October is the 7th.
No, you ratify first.
Oh, okay.
So,
You can't deal with that anyway, so yeah.
September the 19th is the go for ratification. Rather do it on the 22nd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a holiday.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say we
What
have.
holiday?
Jewish, no, Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, okay.
So,
23rd.
So it's 23rd Tuesday?
Well, the 23rd is the holiday. The 23rd is the holiday.
Okay, the
Laura,
23rd is the holiday.
It begins at sundown the 22nd, so.
Yeah, but
so
then school that day on the 22nd.
Okay.
It begins at sundown?
So it's probably.
So are we looking 22nd, 24th?
Let's look at the 24th, because if it's at sundown,
how are we doing with the timeline? It doesn't,
are we running out?
we're gonna put a placeholder on the October.
Yeah.
We already will know what the agreement is. So we should.
You'll know that.
Yeah, we'll be
You
fine.
don't know that. So we'll do the 24th, because I don't wanna be disrespectful. And we'll probably be in the office until about 8 that night.
And, you need information to all SPALC bargaining unit employees 10 days prior to ratification, and work days prior to ratification. Okay, so go backwards from the 24th, 10 work days And that's when everything would have to be out to employees, including that letter. Is that doable?
There's that holiday.
September 10th.
And then it's, yeah, that counts.
September 10th, then would be the day.
So between the 10th and the 24th then is when we would set up the opportunities to talk and.
Right.
Yeah.
The letters would have to be out like on the 10th. And then we would set up those opportunities for discussion, you know, we go visit, people can call.
That give you all enough time?
I asked to.
We'll get it done.
After 24th is
Is that calendar day?
But you do have one holiday in there.
We don't count the holiday, right?
September 9th.
So it'd be September.
So September 9th is the day.
If we don't announce one.
All right. Okay. All right, so we have the date.
I'll jump in.
I thought we were changing that to September 9th.
September 9th, yeah, because it's.
Need everything to stock employees by September 9th.
Okay. And then they will have the opportunities set up to meet in person or virtually for SPALC employees if they have questions or concerns. And you said you could get a red line copy out to them to approve reasonable amount of time,
For that.
plenty of time before that, so you can prove it. Anything else? Oh, pay date,
I was gonna say
payout?
pay date, what are we looking at, pay date?
Yeah, the payout, if the meeting's October 9th,
I'm gonna say that what probably.
October 7th, sorry.
I'm gonna guess that's gonna be the October 31st.
Or 11:15, because they gotta load all that.
Well, that's why I said October 31st for the payout.
Right. All right, well, maybe we need to wait till Amy comes back and,
I agree with Teresa, you probably should wait till the 15th though, because I know payroll takes a bit, that's a big file to load and stuff. I mean, I was just speaking on their
They gotta load new
behalf.
salary schedules, I remember last year
Yeah.
with helping Kevin McKenna Saturday one day. Yeah.
So if we ratify on the 24th, that's what the rest will look like that date.
there she is. We're talking about, that's all right, no problem, we're talking about payout now. If they're ratified October 7th, we were discussing the 31st or the November 15th, which would be more reasonable for payroll.
You say the 31st or November 15th?
Yeah.
It's voted on, approved at the October meeting, accordingly, October 7th.
October 31st should be doable, I believe.
Okay.
If we're able to test it. Yeah, yeah, easily enough. That's the daylight and
All right, October 31st for the payout. Anything else that we need for implementation? add that much contract language, so we shouldn't have to do a whole lot of explanation on contract language. If there's nothing else, I mean, if labor management, you come up with something, it's fine to just say, we need to do this.
Well, we have pre-meeting tomorrow, then Wednesday we do the actual labor management.
Okay, so, yeah, if you come up with anything, if the labor management team comes up with anything they need to add, I don't think that's an issue. We don't have to ratify the implementation, we don't have to approve the implementation plan, we just have to have one. So everybody has dates in their head. So if that's it, yes, Jerry?
Yeah, I mean, it's not to this, but I just wanted to acknowledge the transportation staff that came out. Because a lot of times they're on their buses and not able to make these meetings, so it's good to see them today.
That's right, they are usually on the road, you're right. Thank you for coming.
And just one more thing, can we start bargaining early this year?
Yes, 100%.
Can we set a date now?
And I got one under my phone.
Next week.
Full year, Ron, congratulations.
All right, anybody else have anything they'd like to add before we break up? Just curious, how did you feel about the new way of doing things this year? Let's say on a scale of 1 to 5, or let's just do thumbs.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up, great. All right, that gives us a good idea of how to keep proceeding. Thank you. And with that, have a great start to the new school year, everybody. And,